Hello everyone, this is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. You are looking at what should be now very familiar to many of you if you've watched my videos. The Kenmore 158.1941 free arm sewing machine. This is the machine that a couple of months ago I was telling you all it was given to me. It was put out outside, left outside, and told to come pick it up. It was going in the garbage, and of course, you know, I couldn't resist. And so anyway, you all have seen me, and this is one where I was explaining to you all how you can take a machine that is not broken, that is not damaged, and you can end up damaging it, and it can be your own doing because you're trying to either get the hand wheel to turn when it won't, or you're more often you're trying to get one of the mechanisms, the levers, the dials, the knobs. You're trying to get it to turn, and if you're not familiar with the machine, you might think it takes a lot of force. Well, it does not. They were not designed to be difficult to move. And so, as I mentioned to you all early on, if you have a knob and it's stiff or it doesn't seem to want to move freely, that is the machine speaking to you. Right? It's not a computer beeping at you with some kind of code, but you don't need one because, as I've mentioned before, analog sewing machines from the vintage era, remember, they have no software, no computer chips, no brains, but they do communicate if you pay close attention to them. You can tell when they're running by the sound they make if they are needing maintenance sometimes. And in this situation, the machine is clearly saying, don't start forcing these dials because I'm not ready to run yet. I'm stuck. So you all have seen me. I have tried WD-40. I have tried a couple of times I've been using this product, the 3-in-1 oil. And now the temperatures are rising, and so I've got it out here, outside, and where I prefer to use products like this. I don't like the way they smell indoors. And I'm going to put more of this product on again today, and then I'm going to see in the next week or so if I can get any movement from the machine, or I'm going to have to maybe try something else. Now, one of the things I mentioned to you all when I was doing the video, I think it was recently, I did the video on remember the Eaton machine that was made by Brother? It is a Brother machine, just with an Eaton name. And I was telling all of you that I had been applying the penetrant, and that it worked to loosen things up. And I was talking about the linkages. I'm going to use the Kenmore again today. And again, I remember by the 70s, they no longer have screws where you can remove the top. So I'm going to put my screwdriver in here, and I should be able to get the top off. And for those of you who maybe have never seen any of the other videos on this, there are these little clips. They look like little metal clips, and they fit onto these little pins. There's one here and there's one here. And if you're not sure how to line it up, you want to line this up based on where the lid is, of course, and then you kind of apply pressure and it kind of snaps into place. But it's not easy, and it was made to not be easy to remove by hand, so you need the leverage or leverage, depending on how you pronounce that word, of the screwdriver. So the top is off, and now I'm going to zoom in, and again, I was able to get some movement early on, but I'm still not happy with what I'm getting here. It's still stiff, and I don't know how long this machine was left outdoors, but whatever happened to it, I think my theory here, guys, is that this was not simply sewing machine oil that got stuck. Someone put a large amount of some kind of thick lubricant. I don't know if it was grease, I don't know what it was. Whatever it was, it dried up and it made a mess. And so I'm not used to having to struggle this hard with a machine, but I know some of you may end up in a situation with a machine. It might not be this problem, but some other problem. And it's easy to think, oh crap, how much more time do I want to give to this? But I'm not ready to give up yet. This machine may not run again. I don't know, but it's not like we have a lack of them. But I wanted to show you all what I was mentioning when I was discussing the Eaton machine. I was talking to you all, and you'll see me applying some of this penetrant. Remember, this is not sewing machine oil. It's a penetrant. It's designed to loosen It says fast-acting formula loosens stuck parts, frees rusted nuts and bolts. We don't really have rust, but we've definitely got stuck parts here. And so I'm going to come back in and apply some more of this. I think I've got an issue where I'm trying to get old grease off of here, and it's just not wanting to come off easily. Now, I'm going to move the camera and I'm going to zoom in really close, and I'm going to show you all. I was describing to you with the Eaton Brother machine how linkages work, and I didn't show it on that machine, but I want to show it to you all here. It's the same principle, and hopefully this will help explain what I mean when I say you get one part moving, then the others are still stuck, and there's you use a gradual process to try to get things moving again. Okay guys, I positioned the camera so that you can see basically, I thought I had the camera position. I want you to focus in on the area where all of these linkages are. I'm not so much concerned with the side area of the machine, which is to my left off camera. That's an area that I've covered before, and I will apply more of this lubricant to it, but I'm not really convinced that that is the source of all my problems, or the machine's problems. So I want to demonstrate to you what I was talking about the other day when I did the Eaton. So, for example, there is a lever here. Does that show up? Okay, there is a lever right where my finger is, and this is a lever that it's focused on the red side, which is standard sewing. If you're going to use stretch stitches, you have to turn the lever over to the right. It goes 180 degrees. Now, when that lever moves, notice there is a movement. Now, let's say I lubricate this portion, right? So I get that part of the lever moving. Remember what I told you guys before, behind these plastic controls, they're just covers, and they're cemented to steel parts. This is why you can break them if the steel is bound up, because the issue is not the plastic. Typically, you have metal parts behind the plastic that are kind of stuck to each other, and they don't move very well. And when you try to force them, the plastic gives way, and that's how you often break the plastic covers, and you don't want to do that. Now, so you'll remember if this lever is moving, because just like before, I had applied the penetrant to the parts that the plastic lever is attached to, and it's been moving fine. Well, I don't know if you guys can tell, but right here, there's where two linkages connect, right? So if this is moving fine, as soon as it gets ready to come over to the stretch stitch side, this linkage here needs to move. And it's this piece here that can go up or down. It kind of, when I go over to the left side, watch here as I pull to the right with the lever, you'll see it kind of came up again, right? It's setting. So you want to make sure that now this part of the linkage, the center part, and then the back part. And it's kind of like you kind of follow the trail, right? It's kind of like you follow the trail of linkages one to the other. And so now when I move the lever, not only is the lever moving properly as it should, because the parts right behind the face of the front of the machine are moving, and they are attached to the plastic lever, but now the parts that connect to the parts that touch the plastic lever are now able to move. So you can see how all of these things interconnect. Now again, I mentioned in the Eaton video, when you have a straight stitch machine, it requires a full going through. Straight stitch machines typically don't take as much effort, because if you can unfreeze them, you simply have fewer parts to get moving again. But once you get to the 70s, again, they're trying to sell people machines. The old straight stitchers are not wearing out. That's, we know how heirloom in quality the old machines are. And so in order to get people out of their old machines to buy new ones, they have to offer more features. Now, there are different ways to offer multiple stitch styles. Some of you may have machines that have cams, and you're actually looking at a little stack of cams right here. Well, there are often machines where you don't see the built-in cams, but you have a cam. It's like a plastic disc. Looks like a little puck. And those those discs are inserted to create decorative stitches. And I've got another Kenmore from an earlier period where you're going to see those, and I'll be restoring that. It's kind of a fun machine to look at. But here they have built these in, right? These machines were more costly because they took a lot more to produce. They were not easy to make. They took more engineering, and the cost was higher, and the consumer paid for it, and it was a convenience issue. I'm not convinced that people used all these decorative stitches, but be that as it may, this whole this set of features was used to sell sewing machines. Now, down here, I'm going to move the camera just ever so slightly. I want you guys to see, I think you can see the knob here. Okay, so this is the stitch length knob, and if I turn it to the right, I'm actually going to get fewer stitches. Now, when I turn this dial, the metal pieces are turning, but there's some movement here, but I don't think I'm seeing enough. Do you guys see this piece right here? It should be moving a lot more than it is. So when the knob turns, when I turn this knob to the right, this should be moving to the right. But for whatever reason, it doesn't. It's sticking, right? It's not moving with the same smoothness. That tells me that there's a binding, and I think it's this old grease lubricant. And given that situation, this knob, A, it's not going to work properly, and B, you don't want to damage the knob. So this, again, you want to kind of follow the clues, or not follow the clues, follow the linkage, because once you get the one part moving, I can see, I'm going to zoom in even further for you guys.